our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top stories, President Abdelmajid Tebboune has affirmed that the selection of Algeria by the World Health Organization as the host of the first African Ministerial Conference on Local Pharmaceutical Production and Health Technologies highlights its leadership in the African pharmaceutical industry. The permanent representative of Palestine to the United Nations, Riyad Mansour, has hailed Algeria's role in submitting substantial amendments to the Security Council's draft resolution on the Gaza peace plan aimed at preserving the rights of Palestinians. The Algerian-British Economic Forum for Sustainable Agricultural and Food Partnerships kicked off today in the British capital, London, offering new opportunities for Algerian exporters. Hello and welcome on Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Slimani. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, today received the Dean of the Algiers Mosque, Mr. Mohammed El Mamoun El Qasimi Al Hassani. That was announced by, or in a statement by, the Presidency of the Republic. Now, Prime Minister Sifi Gharaib has today presided over the inauguration of the African Ministerial Conference on Local Pharmaceutical Production and Health Technologies, which is held under the high patronage of President Abdelmajid Tebboune at the Abdelatif Rahali International Conference Center in Algiers. In a speech delivered on his behalf by Prime Minister Sifi Gharaib, President Abdelmajid Tebboune affirmed that the selection of Algeria by the World Health Organization as the host of the first African Ministerial Conference on Local Pharmaceutical Production and Health Technologies highlights its leadership in the African pharmaceutical industry. For the Algerian president, organizing this continental event in Algeria confirms his vision of making Africa a strong, sovereign continent, united in its interests and integrated in its development. Let's listen to the statement by Sifi Gharaib.
والجزائر وهي تحتضن هذا الحدث.
Algeria, while hosting this continental event, affirms its steadfast commitment to the principles of African solidarity and regional integration, in line with its vision aimed at making Africa a strong continent with unified sovereignty, common interest and integrated development. This aligns with the purpose of this conference, which falls within the framework of the African Union's Agenda 2063 and constitutes an effective contribution to implementing the African strategy for the pharmaceutical industries, aimed at securing most of the continent's needs for medicines, vaccines and health technologies.
That was Prime Minister Sifi Gharaib. Held under the theme A Local Pharmaceutical Industry for a Strong and Integrated Africa, this economic event will culminate in the Algiers Declaration, which will include recommendations to achieve continental integration of the pharmaceutical industry with the aim of ensuring Africa's health sovereignty. The 9th session of the Grand Algerian-Egyptian Joint Cooperation Commission, co-chaired by Prime Minister Sifi Gharaib and his Egyptian counterpart Mustafa Mabdouli, ended yesterday afternoon in Cairo. The Prime Minister co-chaired with his Egyptian counterpart the signing ceremony of 18 agreements, memoranda of understanding and cooperation programs between the two countries in several sectors, including housing, the interior, vocational training, culture and solidarity. Said Bouazi reports.
The Prime Minister welcomed the results which crowned the proceedings of the 9th session of the Grand Algerian-Egyptian Joint Cooperation Commission, stressing that the partnership between the two countries is now a promising framework to achieve more integration in the service of the mutual interests.
Therefore, I reiterate my satisfaction with the outcomes of this session, which will constitute an additional milestone on the path of building fruitful and diversified partnerships between our two brotherly countries. I also reaffirm the importance of implementing these outcomes in all their dimensions, in line with the aspirations of our two brotherly countries for more integration, growth, and partnership.
He said that the dynamics that the relations between the two countries experience draws its strength from the depth of the historical ties of solidarity and cooperation between the Algerian and Egyptian peoples, which were able to write a set of great epics which will remain a source of inspiration for the successive generations on the path of the consolidation of cooperation and the promotion of bilateral partnership.
إن الديناميكية التي تعرفها العلاقات بين البلدين
The dynamism characterizing the relations between the two countries finds its strength in the deep and historical ties of solidarity and cooperation between the Algerian and Egyptian peoples throughout history. This orientation has always been consistently affirmed by the leadership of our two countries, aiming to give a strategic character to the relations between our nations, which share both history and common destiny, and in recognition of the significant potential of the economies of both countries. During the meeting I had with His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, I witnessed the strong will driving him to continue working with his brother President Abdelmajid Tebboune to strengthen cooperation, enhance coordination and consultation, especially given the circumstances currently affecting our Arab world.
التي يمر بها عالمنا العربي.
This session was preceded by proceedings at expert level, then at ministerial level, to discuss ways to promote bilateral relations and take advantage of opportunities for cooperation in various fields. On the sidelines of this session, the Prime Minister co-chaired with his Egyptian counterpart in the new Egyptian capital the proceedings of the Algerian-Egyptian Business Forum. During the opening ceremony, Sefi Gharib delivered the speech in which he addressed the frameworks of cooperation between the two countries, stressing the importance of developing bilateral economic and investment partnerships with a view to contributing to sustainable development and opening up new prospects for a mutually beneficial cooperation.
Mr. Gharib has reviewed in Cairo all the institutional and legal reforms undertaken by Algeria to create the conditions conducive to a qualitative leap in the national economy, inviting Egyptian investors to seize this opportunity and invest in Algeria. In his speech at the Algerian-Egyptian Business Forum, organized on the sidelines of the Great Joint Commission between the two countries, Mr. Gharib emphasized Algeria's ongoing reforms to boost the economy and recalled the 2022 investment law as a framework to attract investors.
أود الإشارة إلى جملة الإصلاحات المؤسساتية والقانونية.
I would like to highlight the set of institutional and legal reforms launched by the Algerian public authorities under the leadership of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune. This process is still ongoing, with the aim of preparing all the necessary conditions to ensure a qualitative leap for the national economy by increasing the value of non-hydrocarbon exports, diversifying production, and improving its quality in line with global quality standards. The Algerian investment law, adopted in 2022, truly represents a suitable platform for attracting more investments through an integrated system that ensures freedom of investment and guarantees equality among all investors, be they national or foreign.
On the regional level, he stressed that deepening Algeria-Egypt relations is a strategic response to challenges, calling for coordination to restore peace and unity.
يتجلى أن تعميق العلاقات بين الجزائر ومصر.
It is evident that deepening relations between Algeria and Egypt is not merely the ordinary management of relations between two countries linked by history, geography and culture, but also a strategic response to the major challenges facing our region. Strengthening coordination and consultation between our two countries on various current issues is a priority to contribute to the restoration of peace and security in a region experiencing an unprecedented wave of unrest, which requires reviving Arab solidarity and uniting ranks.
For his part, the Egyptian Prime Minister, Mr. Mustafa Madbouli, during a joint press conference with Prime Minister Mr. Gharib, stated that both countries aim to raise bilateral trade to $5 billion, focusing on key sectors monitored by joint commissions.
لدينا قناعة سوية بالاحتياج إلى زيادة حجم التبادل التجاري بين بلدين.
We share a common conviction on the need to increase the volume of trade between our two countries. It is true that this trade grew by 18% last year compared to the previous year, reaching a volume of $1 billion. However, directives from the political leaderships in both countries for this trade to reach $5 billion within the next few years. This represents a great responsibility for both governments to fulfill the aspirations of the two peoples in increasing trade volume, especially in the important industrial and development sectors we discussed today through the expanded meeting of the Commission. It was agreed that a number of sectors will represent a high priority. My brother, the Prime Minister, and I will follow up on them regularly through the joint commissions.
The Egyptian Prime Minister highlighted Algeria-Egypt alignment on key regional issues, especially the Palestinian cause in Libya, praising Algeria's decisive role on the Security Council and stressing the need for a ceasefire, Gaza reconstruction and support for a foreign-free inter-Libyan process. Army General Said Shingriha, Deputy Minister to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, has received the Director of the Federal Service for Military and Technical Cooperation of the Russian Federation, Mr. Dmitry Chuegov. The meeting was attended by department heads and central directors from the Ministry of National Defense and as well as members of the Russian delegation. During the meeting, the two sides held discussions on the state of military and technical cooperation between the two countries and addressed issues of common concern. Here in Algiers, the Mufti Zakaria Palace of Culture hosted yesterday, Wednesday, an event on the occasion of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, celebrated on the 29th of November of each year, with a view to shedding light on the violations committed by the Zionist occupation in Gaza Strip and in the West Bank. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has reiterated Algeria's unwavering support and principled solidarity with the struggle of the Palestinian people and to the recovery of all their legitimate rights. In a message read on his behalf by the Minister of Mujahideen or War Veterans, Mr. Abdelmalek Tashrift, the President of the Republic affirmed that the Israeli aggression will not erase the Palestinian state, reaffirmed Algeria's support for a 1967 border Palestine with Al-Quds as its capital, and called for lifting the Gaza blockade and stressed the importance of full UN membership for Palestinian self-determination.
تجدد الجزائر دعمها المطلق وتضامنها.
Algeria renews its absolute support and steadfast principled solidarity with the struggle of the Palestinian people until the recovery of all their inalienable rights, their right to self-determination, and the establishment of a sovereign and independent state within the borders of June 4th, 1967, with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital. On this occasion, Algeria calls on the international community to make the necessary efforts to impose compliance with international legality, to immediately and completely lift the blockade on Gaza and to open all crossings to ensure the delivery of humanitarian aid. My country also reaffirms that enabling the State of Palestine to obtain full membership in the United Nations is an essential step towards enshrining the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination and the establishment of their state.
On this occasion, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said in a statement read on his behalf by the United Nations resident representative in Algeria, Savina Amassari, that the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people this year comes after 2 years of terrible suffering in the Gaza Strip and the beginning of ceasefire whose urgency was extreme. Our reporter Murad Eid Mukhtar met with the UN official Savina Amassari, who talked about the importance of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people.
This Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people is celebrated each year, 29th November, It was established in 1977 by the General Assembly of the United Nations, hence by all of the member states, and it is really to remind us all the importance of peace, of the rights, and of the dignity of the Palestinian people. It reminds us that we need peace, we need a solution that is sustainable and that is acceptable and that is in line with international law.
Let's recall that the UN Secretary General said that injustices continue to be committed also in the occupied West Bank, including East al-Quds, in a context marked by the continuation of the military aggression of the Israeli occupation and the settlers' violence. Now, the permanent representative of Palestine to the United Nations, Riyad Mansour, has hailed Algeria's role in submitting substantial amendments to the Security Council's draft resolution on the Gaza peace plan, aimed at preserving the rights of Palestinians and which chose to align itself with the position of mediators who insisted on the need for a Security Council resolution given the risk of the ceasefire agreement collapsing. At the monthly Security Council meeting on the situation in the Middle East, including the Palestinian question, Mr. Mansour, speaking on the draft resolution on the peace plan for Gaza, said Algeria, on behalf of Palestine and the Arab group, has submitted, jointly with Somalia and with the support of Pakistan, several substantial amendments guaranteeing the rights of Palestinians. He added that these amendments received broad support from the members of the Security Council. The permanent representative of the State of Palestine to the United Nations also indicated that some amendments had been incorporated into the text while others had not. He specified that Algeria continued its efforts until the last moment to introduce amendments, including at the national level, after the publication of the joint statement by the 8 Arab and Islamic countries and the United States, which supported the resolution. Now, the 12th session of the high-level seminar on peace and security in Africa-Iran process will be held next Monday in Algiers at ministerial level. More with Masoud Sharfi.
Algeria will be participating in this meeting in 2 capacities, as an African member of the United Nations Security Council A3 on the one hand, and as a member of the Peace and Security Council PSC of the African Union AU. The seminar will address the human, cultural, economic, environmental and legal dimensions of colonial crimes with a focus on intergenerational trauma, the plundering and destruction of African cultural heritage, the exploitation of resources and unfair economic models inherited from colonialism, environmental impacts, including nuclear testing on African populations. Algeria, as a host country and initiator, intends to contribute to strengthening the African architecture of historical justice by providing a platform for high-level dialogue to consolidate international recognition of colonial crimes and promote concrete mechanisms for reparation. One of the major expected outcomes in the adoption of the Algiers Declaration, which should serve as a continental reference of the codification of colonial crimes, the recognition of their impacts, and the development of an African strategy for justice and reparations. This declaration will be submitted to the African Unit Summit in February 2026 for review and endorsement. Through this initiative, Algeria reaffirms its leading role and decisive contribution within the continent by supporting African aspirations for justice, reparation, memory, sovereignty, and the consolidation of a common historical identity based on dignity and the values of justice.
The Algerian-British Economic Forum for Sustainable Agricultural and Food Partnerships kicked off today in the British capital, London. Our London-based correspondent Fatah Khouki met with the chairman of the Algeria-UK Business Council, Martin Roper-Obi, who spoke about the available opportunities for Algerian exporters on the British soil.
As the Algeria-Britain Business Council, we are there to support Algerian companies exporting to the UK, but also UK companies exporting to Algeria. I think there is a real opportunity for Algerian exporters of agricultural produce to export more to the UK. And this event is helpful because we have a number of Algerian agricultural producers here, and we also have some partners, UK partners, who understand the system, understand the UK customs processors, and we can help build awareness about how to go about exporting more produce. I've sampled the Algerian produce myself when I was ambassador. I know you have high quality goods. You're close to the UK. The UK needs food imports. We can't produce enough food for our population of 67 million. So there's a real opportunity for Algeria to become a much bigger partner for the UK. And I think there is a real opportunity to make that happen.
That was the chairman of the Algeria UK Business Council, Mr. Martin Roper. UN spokesperson Stéphane Dujarric has said in the evening that Secretary General Antonio Guterres was following with deep concern the situation in Guinea-Bissau, where the military announced on Wednesday that it had taken total control of the country. During a press briefing in New York, Stéphane Dujarric said that Antonio Guterres was calling on those involved in the current crisis in Guinea-Bissau to exercise restraint and respect the law or the rule of law. This is Radio Algeria International. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to our special program on how to navigate the digital world safely. Today we are discussing vital